Hello, I'm Davina from sheepandstitch.com, and today I'm going to show you how to seam two pieces of knitted fabric together using Kitchener stitch. Alright, so in order to seam with Kitchener stitch, you really need to have two pieces of knitted fabric that are on live stitches. So you can see here that both these pieces of fabric are still on their, needles. I haven't cast off with either of them. And that's really the point of Kitchener stitch, is to seam together two pieces of fabric that are still on the needles. Okay? So the other requirement of Kitchener stitch is that you have the same number of stitches on each needle. So on both of these pieces of fabric, I've got 12 stitches, which is perfect. Alright, so if you meet these requirements and you have a tapestry needle, which is very instrumental for Kitchener stitch, then we are ready to get started. Alright, so when we're seaming with Kitchener stitch, we need a length of yarn to actually seam with. So this piece of fabric is still attached to my ball of yarn, which is great. So I need to figure out how much yarn to cut off so that I can seam, seam my two pieces of fabric together without running out. Alright, so what I usually do is I take my yarn and I wrap it around the width of my fabric. And I usually do that 8 times. So let's do that together. Alright, I'm going to wrap it around once here, twice, 3 times, and I'm going to get this untangled here, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, so that's 8 times, so I'm going to cut off about here, which is about 8 wraps around the width of my fabric. So let's cut that off. Perfect. Alright, so that's going to be about the length of yarn that I'll need to complete my seaming. Alright, so once I've got this length of yarn, I'm actually going to thread this onto my tapestry needle. And once I'm done that, then we are really ready to get started seaming with Kitchener stitch. Alright, so now my tapestry needle is threaded up, and now we're ready to work the Kitchener stitch. So I'm going to lay out my two needles like this. I'm going to lay them out with the live stitches facing each other like this, and the knitting needle that's attached to my yarn, okay, so that's attached to my yarn that's attached to my tapestry needle, that one's going to go in the back, alright? And the fabric that has no yarn coming out of it is going to lay in the front. So I'm going to call this my front needle and my back needle. Alright? Okay, so let's get started. What we're going to do first is we're going to take our tapestry needle and we're going to go into the first stitch on our front needle as if we were going to purl. So I'm going to take my tapestry needle and go in from the top to the bottom of the first stitch on my front needle. Here we go. There we go. And now we're going to go into the back needle right here, and we're going to do a knit. We're going to go into it from the bottom to the top as if we were going to knit that stitch. Perfect. Alright, so that's kind of our two setup stitches before we get going. Alright, so now we're ready to work the repeat of Kitchener stitch. Alright, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go into the first stitch of our front needle and we're going to knit into it. So we're going to go from the bottom to the top, just like this. I'm going to pull my tapestry needle through it, and then I'm going to pop this stitch right off of my needle. So just like that, just pull it off, and I'm going to tug it a little bit. Alright, then I'm going to go into the next stitch on my front needle as if I was going to purl it. So from the top to the bottom, then I'm going to pull it through like that. Then I'm going to go into the first stitch on my back needle as if I was going to purl it, just like this, top to the bottom, and then I'm going to pop that one off. Alright, so next I'm going to go into the first stitch on my back needle and I'm going to knit into it. Alright, so there is a pattern to this madness, okay? So what you really need to remember is that on the front needle, whenever you knit into a stitch, you're going to knit it off, okay? So I just knit into this first stitch on my front needle, and then it comes off, okay? So knit off and purl on. So now we just went purlwise into the next stitch on my front needle, and it stays on. Alright, now on my back needle here, It's the opposite. On the back needle, we purl off and we knit on. So now I'm going to go into the stitch on my back needle as if I was going to purl. So from the top to the bottom. So we're going to go in purlwise on the back needle and it comes off. All right, so purl off and knit on in the back needle. So I'm going to go in knitwise in the back needle, pull through, and it stays on. Okay, on the front needle, it's the exact opposite. On the front needle, it's a knit off. So I just went into that stitch as if I was going to knit it, and then I pop it off, knit off, and purl on the front needle. So here we go. Right, on the back needle, it's a purl off. So purled into that first stitch, and it comes off, purl off, and knit on the back needle. Whoops. Let's get that sorted on the back needle. Here we go. On the front needle, we're doing a knit off. So we just knit into that, and it comes off, knit off, and purl on. We're purling, and it stays on. All right, on the back needle, exact opposite. We're going to purl off. So purled into it, and it's coming off. And then we're going to knit on our back needle. All right. All right, and we would just repeat this. So you can kind of say this mantra to yourself over and over again, okay? And back needle is a purl off and a knit on. So this is actually, you know, it does take a bit of concentration for you to remember this. So it's a good idea to just like not be doing anything too important when you're doing the Kitchener stitch, because you can't really, watch TV and do this at the same time. You kind of have to pay attention. All right, so now we're near the end. I just did a purl on my front needle, and now we're going to do a purl off on my back needle. I've got 2 stitches left, 1 on each needle, and we're just going to keep on going as we have been. So we're going to do a knit on our back needle, and then a knit, whoopsie, knit. Oh dear, our tapestry needle has come undone. All right, so let's thread it up again. No worries. So where were we? Oh yeah, we were going to do a knit off on our front needle. So here we go. Here's a knit. And we're going to pop this off our front needle and just let the needle slide off, tug it a bit. So we did a knit off on our front needle, and we're going to do a purl off on our back needle, and that's the last stitch, and I'll just let my needle slide off. Perfect. So now I'm going to tug it a little bit, and let's take a look at our work. Cool. Not bad, huh? Not bad at all. So here we are. We've seamed together 2 pieces of stockinette stitch, and it looks pretty good. Sometimes it may be a little bit sort of bumpy, and that's because, sometimes you don't pull, hard enough, or you pull too hard when you're threading your tapestry needle back and forth. It does take a little bit of practice, but, once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to seam together 2 pieces of stockinette stitch really nicely, just like this. And there you have it. That's the Kitchener stitch. And of course, once you're done, you can weave in these loose ends at the back, and you'll have, 2 pieces of fabric that have become 1. Now, if you enjoyed this video, then please like it and subscribe right here for more knitting and pattern tutorials. Okay, that's it for me. I'm Davina of sheepandstitch.com, and I'll catch you next time with another knitting video.